Hello and welcome back to my Ultra Sun 100 battle video series. Today we've got a Sun series battle where I am still using the Groudon and White Kyurem team, this time bringing Venusaur and Tapu Lele, and my opponent is using Araquanid, Dialga, Kyogre, and Incineroar. So it's looking like they are packing a pretty hard Trick Room team, with the Dialga being the main Trick Room setter as it was back in 2016 if I'm not mistaken. And Araquanid is a really interesting pick on my opponent's part, but it's also pretty scary, as under Trick Room, that thing with the Water Bubble ability and boosted by Kyogre's Rain is definitely nothing to sleep on. So let's get right into this battle. And my opponent's leads are going to be the Araquanid and the Dialga, so right off the bat, it's looking like they're wanting to set the Trick Room and deal some massive damage right out of the gate. And I'm going to lead with my Kyurem and my Venusaur. So here, my Kyurem is going to make the first move. I'm just going to go for an Earth Power into the Dialga, dealing some massive damage. But that also allows Dialga to eat its berry, which is going to be the 50% berry. Looks like I knocked it right into Wiki Berry range. And I'm going to attempt to sleep powder the Araquanid, but it actually is carrying safety goggles, which prevents it from being put to sleep. And now a liquidation is going to do almost half to my Venusaur, and my opponent will be able to successfully set up the Trick Room. So my opponent already has a pretty big advantage over me. So I'm going to protect my Kyurem, not wanting to take a Dragon or Steel type attack from the Dialga. And Liquidation is going to go into my Kyurem's Protect, and Earth Power is going to come out from the Dialga, leading me to believe that either my opponent predicted me to switch out, or they aren't carrying a Dragon move. I have to imagine they're carrying Flash Cannon, but you don't always have to carry Dragon type attacks on Dragon Pokemon. I'm not carrying a Dragon move on my Kyurem. So now I'm going to be able to put the Dialga to sleep, and Liquidation is going to do a lot to my Kyurem. Dialga is going to take its first sleep turn, and I'm going to go for a Sludge Bomb, which does some nice chip into the Araquanid, and Fusion Flare is also going to go into the Araquanid, but it's going to be able to live thanks to its Water Bubble ability. And now Dialga is going to be withdrawn, and my opponent is going to send out the Kyogre, oh my goodness, and set out the Rain, which definitely is very helpful for the Araquanid, and very scary for me. So now Liquidation is going to come out from the Araquanid and just do so much damage to the Venusaur under Rain. It actually is just going to take out my Venusaur. And my Kyurem is going to go for the Earth Power, which deals a nice bit of chip to the Kyogre. And now I'm going to send in my Groudon, which will turn that Rain into some Sun, which is very good for me, as both of these water types will not be having nearly as great of damage outputs. So the Araquanid is still going to stay in and go for a Liquidation, deal a lot to my Groudon. My opponent was probably hoping that these two attacks together would be able to knock out my Groudon, but we're going to live at 6 HP, just barely hanging in there. And I'm going to eat my berry, recover 50% of my HP. And now I'm going to be able to go for the Precipice Blades, but unfortunately we do miss the Araquanid. But we are able to connect on the Kyogre, luckily, which does enough damage where an Earth Power from my Kyurem will just knock that out, which is super nice for me because that means that Sun will be up for the rest of the game and we don't have to worry about the Rain. And now Trick Room is going to wear off as well, which definitely gives me a lot of my momentum back. But the Incineroar is now going to come in from my opponent's side, getting a very useful Intimidate onto my Groudon, and of course, giving my opponent that ever-powerful Fake Out pressure. So I'm going to withdraw my Kyurem here, and send in my Tapu Lele, wanting to prevent a Fake Out from happening. So I'm going to set out the Psychic Terrain here, and Araquanid is actually going to go for the Wide Guard, which I definitely wasn't expecting, but it definitely is something that Araquanid definitely should be carrying. Well, I'm saying definitely a lot, but yeah, Wide Guard from the Araquanid is going to make my Precipice Blades basically useless, and a Flare Blitz is going to do so much damage to my Groudon. It is almost knocked out, but it's able to hang on at 7 HP, and Araquanid is now going to be withdrawn. The Dialga is going to be sent out, probably wanting to set up Trick Room again, or just be on the field to just pressure both of my Pokemon. I'm going to Protect with my Groudon now, and Moonblast with my Tapu Lele into the Dialga. But my opponent reads my Groudon's Protect and just goes for Flare Blitz into the Tapu Lele slot, which in the sun, no question, is going to just OHKO my Lele. And now I'm going to send out my Kyurem. Both my restricted legendaries are at very low HP here. I'm going to activate my Turbo Blaze. And now Dialga is going to take its second sleep turn. Luckily, that Dialga is still asleep. And I'm going to Earth Power with my Kyurem. Life Orb Kyurem does so much damage. It's actually just going to knock out the Incineroar right there. And luckily, Precipice Blades is able to connect onto the Dialga and take that thing out as well. So now all my opponent has left is the Araquanid, which definitely looks like it's going to be able, or not going to be able, to pull it back against my two restricted legendaries at this point. Wanting to wear off the sun, my opponent is just going to Protect with the Araquanid, and my attacks are just going to go into its Protect, not really obviously doing much of anything. But now the sun is going to wear off, but unfortunately for my opponent, my Kyurem is still just going to be able to go for the Fusion Flare and knock out the Araquanid, and that is going to be a victory. So this was definitely a very close game. Obviously, I only won the game with like 7 HP on my Groudon, but I think once Trick Room wore off, I definitely got a lot of momentum and was able to pull that game back very nicely. Props to my opponent for using Araquanid, though, because that was definitely a huge threat throughout the whole battle, and Araquanid is definitely a very interesting but very strong pick in VGC, in my opinion. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the Sun Series battle, and next up we have some Ultra Spooky Cup, which was from Halloween 2018, I believe. Yeah, so over a year ago now. Coming up on 2 years in around 7 months. Halloween is close. Well, I'll see you guys then for some Ultra Spooky Cup. And until next time.